Hello and welcome to Mideast Journal, where we focus on the topics and trends that shape the Middle East. I'm Geerges. In today's program, we focus on Islamic terrorism, what causes it and what can be done about it. My guest is Tawfiq Hamid. He grew up in a wealthy, educated, and secular Egyptian family. But when he went to medical school in Cairo in the late 70s, he became radicalized. He joined the Jamaat Islamiyya, or Islamic groups. At the time, it was headed by Ayman al-Zawahiri, now Al-Qaeda's number 2. But when he began to question the Islamist ideology and the violence against civilians, he became convinced that violent Islam must be stopped. Currently, Tawfiq Hamid is a contributor to the Wall Street Journal and advises on counterterrorism at the highest levels of government. He is the author of Inside Jihad, Understanding and Confronting Radical Islam. He's also a senior fellow at the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies. Dr. Hamid, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be with you.
Nice to have you. I want to start with the causes of Islamic radicalism.
Yeah.
What caused you to become radicalized in Cairo?
It was actually a gradual process of brainwashing. So initially, I had the intention just to serve God, nothing more than this. And gradually, they take this energy and convince you that serving God is by hating others, by forcing others to subjugate to Sharia, or sometimes by killing them because they are, as they call, infidels. So the intention was good initially, but the process itself, not the first step, if I want to summarize it, is suppression of your critical thinking. I still remember the first thing they said to me was al-fikru kufr, which means thinking, if you start to think, you will be an infidel.
But how did you buy that, given that, number one, you grew up in a secular family, and number two, you were in medical school? I mean, these are very educated people.
It was a desire to serve God, and once you deal with Him, you feel that you want to surrender to His commands. And in fact, they convinced me in different ways. Like, for example, they said to me, your brain is just like a donkey. In our culture, a donkey represents stupidity in general. And they said to me, the donkey can help you to reach the palace of the king or God or religion. And they asked me, would you take the donkey with you to meet the king, or you leave it outside? I said, outside. So they have their own tactics, and the process actually can take further other steps. Like, for example, they asked us to stand in queues during the prayer with shoulders to shoulders and feet to feet, and they recited certain verse of the Quran. They selected it that says, إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص, which means God loves those who fight for His cause as if they are one cemented structure. So gradually they prepare you. They also make you dream about going to paradise full of women, and with the process of sexual deprivation that was happening in the Middle East and still there, difficulty of getting marriage and difficulty even of having hope to get married or to have any relationship with a girl. It became a dream for some of us to go to paradise just to have sex.
So once you joined that group, how did you change? How were you different?
It was not once. It took me 6 to 8 months, gradual education, listening to their lectures, going to Friday prayers with their top leaders, reading in the traditional mainstream Islamic books, teaching me things like we have to kill anyone who converts from Islam, beating women is justifiable, we have to declare wars on non-Muslims to promote Islam and subjugate them to Islamic Sharia after giving them 3 options, either to become a Muslim or to kill them or to ask them for paying humiliating tax called jizya. I have been reading books that I'm talking here not about distorted or bizarre form of books. This is the mainstream books. You can go, even in America here, you can go and buy them, talking about how you should torture and punish those who refuse to do the 5 prayers. So the concept of violence gradually developed in me in a very gradual manner. It was unnoticed, and in few months I just found myself ready to go to Afghanistan, ready to share in doing crimes, and just it happened in a very gradual manner.
You met Ayman al-Zawahiri.
Absolutely.
What was he like?
He was the most charismatic speaker I have ever seen in my life, very passionate, believing in his cause. He was not doing this for any political agenda or any money. He was from a very wealthy family, well-known family in Egypt, very intelligent guy, and his motive and motivation to the cause of spreading Islam and subjugating the whole world to a Taliban-like system or Sharia was clearly evident from the very first time I met with him.
It was evident back then because I think he would say that his purpose was to fight the secular Egyptian government, so that it was a very confined goal.
No, they use many tactics to deceive the West and the media. They can say this, but obviously when you listen to him directly inside the mosque of the Jama'ah Islamiyah, for example, he was clear that we have to fight the Jews and the Christians and the West because they promote values that in his view are un-Islamic, like women, freedom for women. This was a major issue for the Islamic groups in general.
So what changed for you? I mean, how did you go from being a part of this group and buying into this ideology to completely fighting against it?
This was not very gradual. It was an event. There was many things accumulating, but the event that I consider it the straw that broke the camel's back was when they invited me to share in a real violent act. I was invited to share with some people in the Jama'ah Islamiyah to kidnap a police officer and bury him alive, dig a grave for him beside the mosque and bury him alive in this grave. So my conscience couldn't take it, to be honest with you. And I felt this is impossible for me. It's different from teaching you violence at theoretical level and taking it to the practical level to make you do a crime. So I felt, no, I can't share in this, and there was some sort of awakening of the conscience. And one of the words that helped me to get back was a word that I learned when I was young. It was a word by Jesus Christ that said, what does it profit a man if he gained the whole world and loses his own soul? So I believe this expression, which I learned since I was very young, helped me to gain my conscience back again. Once this happened and I took one step backward, I started to think. I did the opposite of what they encouraged me to do. And instead of suppressing the critical thinking, I started to think. And the third aspect that helped me was the availability of some Islamic group or sects that was very different from the JI. They were not perfect, but they allowed me to think freely within the religious boundaries. But I was capable of providing new interpretations, new ideas. So I found a sort of relatively peaceful way to get out of this.
So this was about 25 years ago. What would you say is the major cause of radicalization today in the post 9/11 world?
Violent and radical teachings in the traditional ways of teaching Islam.